I wake up to the sound of birds chirping outside my window, the early morning sun casting golden streaks across my land. My farm stretches for acres, a peaceful retreat I built with my own hands, a place where I don't have to answer to anyone. No HOA. No rules dictated by self-important busybodies. Just me, my animals, and the quiet hum of nature. My pitbulls stir as I step onto my porch, stretching their muscular bodies, tails wagging. They know the routine morning rounds. As I sip my coffee, I glance at the gravel driveway leading to the main road. It's private property, marked by a large "No trespassing" sign bolted onto a steel gate. But lately something has felt off. Started a week ago. A group of men in polo shirts and clipboards parked just outside my property line, eyeing my land like it was up for auction. They didn't introduce themselves. They just took notes, whispered among themselves, and left. Then, yesterday, I found surveyor stakes hammered into my soil, bright orange flags fluttering like warning signs. Nobody asked my permission. Nobody told me why. I yank one out of the ground, rolling the thin wooden stake between my fingers. It's marked with unfamiliar codes and a logo I don't recognize. My gut tells me something isn't right. My land has been in my family for generations. Before me, it belonged to my grandfather, a man who fought tooth and nail to keep it. He told me once, "This land is ours, but there will always be people who think it should belong to them instead." His words echo in my head as I scan the tree line, my instincts on edge. This town has changed over the years. It used to be a place where folks respected hard work, where landowners were left alone. But ever since the new development went up on the other side of the hill, things have shifted. More HOAs, more people who think they can dictate what others do with their property. And one thing I've learned? The people who move into those gated communities don't like seeing a black man owning this much land, especially one who refuses to sell. I hear the crunch of tires on gravel. A white SUV rolls up to the edge of my property, stopping just outside my gate. Two men step out, dressed in business casual, polo shirts again, clipboards in hand. One of them adjusts his sunglasses, then gestures toward my land like he already owns it. Something tells me these aren't just nosy neighbors. I set my coffee down, my pitbulls already at attention. Their ears perk, muscles tensed. I take a deep breath, gripping the wooden stake in my hand. Looks like it's time to find out exactly what's going on. The man in sunglasses steps forward, a practiced smile stretched across his face. The kind of smile that doesn't reach his eyes. He looks me up and down like he's sizing me up, assessing whether I belong here. "Morning," he says, his voice dripping with artificial politeness. "I'm Greg Stanton, president of the Oak Ridge Estates Homeowners Association." He pauses, expecting some kind of reaction. I give him nothing. My land isn't part of any HOA. I made damn sure of that when I bought it. Greg clears his throat, motioning to the second man, a balding guy clutching a clipboard. "This is Brad. We're here to discuss a zoning matter. Seems there's been some confusion about property lines." Zoning matter. Confusion. I don't like the sound of that. Brad flips through his papers, barely glancing at me. "See, Oak Ridge Estates has been expanding, and according to our records, a portion of this land," he waves a hand vaguely over my property, "should technically fall under the HOA's jurisdiction." I let that sit for a moment. Then I laugh. Not because it's funny, but because the audacity is almost unbelievable. "That's interesting," I say, crossing my arms, "because I've owned this land for years, and it's not under any HOA. Never has been. Never will be." Greg's smile tightens. "We understand there's been some irregularities with old property deeds. It happens. But don't worry, we're happy to work something out." "Work something out," I echo. "And what exactly does that mean?" Brad finally looks up from his clipboard, adjusting his glasses. "To keep it simple, we're prepared to offer a fair compensation package. The HOA would assume management of the land, ensuring compliance with community standards. In return, you'd receive a generous payout. It's a win-win." Now the picture becomes clearer. They don't just want my land. They want control. They want me gone. I take a step closer, lowering my voice. Let me save you some time. The answer is no. Greg sighs, shaking his head like I'm some poor fool who doesn't understand what's best for him. I get it. Change is hard. But the truth is, this area is developing fast. Properties like yours? They bring down values. There it is. He said it without saying it. They don't want me here. They don't want a black man with acres of land, running things on his own terms. I've seen this play before. People like Greg hide behind legal jargon and HOA rules, but it's just another way to push folks like me out. I step back onto my porch, snapping my fingers. My pit bulls move instantly, muscles tense, eyes locked on the intruders. Greg shifts uncomfortably. Brad takes a step back. This conversation's over, I say flatly. Now get off my land. Greg's polite mask finally cracks. His jaw tightens. His eyes narrow. You'll regret this, he says. I watch them leave, but I know this isn't over. The next morning, I find another surveyor stake planted deep in my soil. It's right near my fence line, the bright orange flag fluttering in the wind like a taunt. But this time, there's something else. A fresh property of Oak Ridge Estates HOA sign hammered into the dirt. They're not just pushing. They're trying to take. I rip it out, my grip tightening. This isn't a mistake. This is deliberate. I grab my phone and call the county records office, speaking to an exhausted-sounding clerk named Linda. After a long hold, she confirms what I already knew. My land is not part of Oak Ridge Estates, and there have been no changes to my deed. But then she hesitates. Wait, that's odd. What? I'm seeing an ongoing review of your property status. It was filed 2 weeks ago by the Oak Ridge Estates HOA. I grit my teeth. Can they even do that? They shouldn't be able to, she says, voice uncertain. But HOAs have lawyers. They're claiming part of your land was incorrectly recorded years ago. If they push hard enough, they could tie this up in court. I hang up, anger simmering. Minutes later, a text from my neighbor, Reggie, pings my phone. Man, you see what they did to your fence? I'm already moving before I finish reading. When I reach the back edge of my property, my heart pounds with rage. My fence, my damn fence, has been torn down. The wooden posts are snapped, the wire bent and mangled. And standing inside my property line, clipboard in hand, is Greg Stanton. His polo shirt goons are with him, walking my land like they own it. I don't bother yelling. I don't bother asking questions. I pull out my phone and start recording. Greg sees me and smirks. Morning. I keep the camera trained on him. You've got about 10 seconds to explain why you're trespassing. Greg gestures to his men. Just making sure everything's in order. Turns out your fence was improperly placed. We're correcting that. You mean you're tearing it down? He shrugs. Tomato, tomato. I step closer, keeping my voice steady. You don't have the authority to do this. Greg sighs like he's dealing with a slow child. That's where you're wrong. See, our legal team has already filed paperwork to annex this section of land. And under HOA regulations, we have the right to enforce community standards. I stare at him, barely containing my fury. You don't own this land. Not yet, he says smoothly. But by the time the courts figure it out, this will already be Oak Ridge Estates' jurisdiction. It's a game. A dirty, underhanded game. They're stealing my land, and they know they can get away with it if they move fast enough. I clench my fists. You're trespassing. Get off my property. Greg chuckles. Or what? You'll call the cops. His smirk widens. Go ahead. Let's see whose side they take. That's when it clicks. He's not just some HOA president. He's connected, privileged. He's used to people like me backing down, used to weaponizing the system against anyone who won't bow to him. But he doesn't know who he's dealing with. I take another step forward and snap my fingers. From behind me, 6 pit bulls emerge from the porch. Their low growls vibrate through the air, muscles tense, eyes locked on Greg and his crew. They don't bark. They don't need to. Greg stiffens. His men freeze. One of them actually drops his clipboard. I tilt my head. You were saying? Greg swallows hard. This isn't necessary. I take another step, lowering my voice. You think because I'm black, I don't know my rights? You think I'm just gonna let you take what's mine? I gesture at my phone. This is all on camera. And when I'm done here, I'll make sure every lawyer in the state sees it. Greg exhales, forcing a tight smile. There's no need to get hostile. We can work something out. Get off my land. For the first time, Greg hesitates. He was sure of himself. Now, not so much. His men start backing away first. Then Greg follows, adjusting his sunglasses like that'll hide his shaken expression. This isn't over, he says, trying to sound confident. But I hear the doubt in his voice. No, I say, eyes locked on his. It's just beginning. 2 days later, I wake up to the sound of heavy machinery. I jump out of bed, adrenaline slamming through me. My pitbulls are already barking, pacing near the front door. I throw on my boots and storm outside, then stop dead in my tracks. A construction crew is inside my property line. A bulldozer sits at the far edge of my land, idling. Workers in hard hats are hammering fresh wooden stakes into the ground, this time with HOA logos printed right on them. And standing in the middle of it all, arms crossed, wearing that same smug grin, is Greg Stanton. He sees me and waves like we're old friends. Morning, he calls. Beautiful day for progress, isn't it? I don't answer. My fists clench at my sides. You have exactly 5 seconds to tell me what the hell is going on. Greg sighs dramatically, pulling a folded document from his pocket. I told you this land was incorrectly recorded in the past. The HOA has officially reclaimed it. And as of this morning, we've begun the process of clearing it for community use. He tilts his head. You know, a park, maybe a walking trail, something the neighborhood can actually benefit from. I glance at the bulldozer, the freshly cut stakes, the smug satisfaction on Greg's face. This wasn't just a land grab anymore. This was about humiliating me, about proving that men like him could take whatever they wanted. Greg steps closer, voice dropping just low enough so only I can hear. You should have taken the buyout, friend. Now, you're trespassing on our property. Friend. I exhale slowly, forcing myself to stay calm. I look at the construction crew, the clipboard-holding assistants, even the security guard Greg brought along for good measure. They're all watching, waiting. They think I'm going to snap, that I'll give Greg exactly what he wants. A reason to call the cops and have me dragged off my own damn land. But I don't. Instead, I pull out my phone and press a few buttons. A second later, a loud voice booms from the speakers. This is illegal trespassing, and I'm instructing all unauthorized personnel to leave the premises immediately. Failure to do so will result in legal action. Greg frowns. What the hell is that? I hold up my phone. A cease and desist order. His face twitches. Bullshit. I smirk. You sure? Because this came straight from my lawyer. And guess what else? I flip to another screen. I pulled all the county records, including the real surveyor maps. I zoom in on a high-resolution scan, holding it up for the workers to see. This, I point to my land, has never been part of Oak Ridge Estates. Not in 1920. Not in 1950. Not now. Greg shifts, but I'm not done. Linda, from the county office? She confirmed it too. I even have emails from the zoning commission proving your paperwork was faked. Turns out, trying to refile a land deed without the owner's consent. I take a step forward, lowering my voice. That's fraud. Greg's smirk is gone now. That's ridiculous. You have nothing. I turn to the workers. And if any of you keep tearing up my land after hearing this, you'll be personally named in the lawsuit. A beat of silence. Then the construction foreman, a burly guy in an orange vest, crosses his arms. You got proof? He asks. I spin the phone around, showing the official county stamp on the documents. His eyes flick to Greg, then back to me. He mutters something under his breath, then waves his crew down. Shut it off. The bulldozer rumbles to a stop. The workers step back. What happens next? Greg's face blazes red. You idiots. Keep working. He's bluffing. But the foreman shakes his head. I ain't getting sued for you, man. Greg's breathing turns shallow. His control is slipping. His power is crumbling. He turns to his security guard. Arrest him. The guard doesn't move. Because behind me, 6 pitbulls are standing at attention. Silent. Watching. Waiting. I smile. Try it. Greg opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. For the first time since this all started, he has nothing to say. And I can't wait to watch for the first time since this all started. Greg looks afraid. He glances at the construction crew, at the silent security guard, then back at me. His usual smirk is gone. His mouth opens and closes like he's struggling to find a way out of this. You don't know what you're talking about, he stammers. You think a few emails and some old maps will hold up against our legal team? The HOA has. The HOA has nothing. I take another step forward, holding my phone up for everyone to see. I didn't just get survey maps. I continue, my voice cold. I got a full audit of Oak Ridge Estates financials. Turns out you've been collecting illegal fees from residents for years. Fake citations, unauthorized fines, straight into an account you control. A murmur ripples through the small crowd. The construction workers stop packing up. The security guard raises an eyebrow. Greg freezes. That's ridiculous. I raise an eyebrow. Is it? I swipe my phone screen and hit play. A recorded phone call blasts through the speakers. Greg, I don't care what you have to do. Get that land under HOA control. Fudge the paperwork if you need to. That property is worth a fortune. Greg's face drains of color. It's his voice. There's no denying it. I press pause and glance up. That's you, isn't it? He shakes his head violently. No, that could be anyone. I press play again. Make sure no one looks too closely at the books either. If the county gets nosy, we're screwed. Dead. Silence. The construction workers exchange uneasy glances. The security guard straightens up, his stance shifting from neutral to interested. But the real kicker? I turn my phone toward the street, where 3 black SUVs are pulling up. The doors swing open, and out step county officials, 2 uniformed officers, and Linda from the zoning office. Greg stumbles backward. Wait. This is a setup. Linda marches toward him, holding up a thick stack of paperwork. Gregory Stanton, you're under investigation for fraud, land theft, and financial misconduct. The officers step forward. Greg panics. No, you can't arrest me. This is my land. This is MY. Click. The cuffs snap around his wrists. He thrashes, turning toward the security guard. Do something. The guard shrugs. Not my job, buddy. Greg's panic deepens. He twists violently in the officer's grip. You can't do this. I run this HOA. I have connections. His voice cuts off when he sees the crowd forming. Neighbors, homeowners, people from Oak Ridge Estates, all watching from the sidewalk. And they're recording. Dozens of phones pointed right at him. The same people he spent years bullying, extorting, and fining over the smallest infractions? Now they're cheering. Not so powerful now, are you? Someone calls. Another neighbor, an older woman, steps forward and spits at his feet. That's for all the money you stole from us, you snake. Greg's entire world collapses in that moment. His smugness is gone. His arrogance, shattered. His empire, built on fraud and intimidation, burns to the ground in front of everyone. The officers shove him toward the SUV. He resists, trying one last desperate attempt. I can fix this. I have friends. The car door slams shut. And just like that, he's gone. The crowd erupts into cheers. People start talking, sharing their own stories of Greg's corruption, racism, and abuse. More neighbors come forward, people who were too afraid to speak up before. Linda turns to me, shaking her head in disbelief. That was incredible. I shrug. He thought he was untouchable. She exhales. Well, he's about to find out just how wrong he was. I turn, taking in my land, the land that almost got stolen from me. the land that my family has owned for generations. And as my pitbulls settle around me, as my neighbors cheer, as Greg's power crumbles into nothing, I feel something deep in my chest. Victory. Greg Stanton's fall from grace is spectacular. By the next morning, his arrest video is everywhere. Blasted across social media, replayed on local news, even dissected in community forums. Neighbors who once feared him, now they're rejoicing. People are coming forward in droves, sharing stories of how he scammed them, harassed them, and abused his power. And the best part? The county audit confirms what I suspected. Greg's been running a massive fraud scheme, pocketing hundreds of thousands in bogus HOA fines. His assets, frozen. His position, terminated. His future, prison. It doesn't take long for the entire HOA board to crumble with him. The members who backed Greg, the ones who turned a blind eye, under investigation. Their bank records are getting picked apart like a carcass in a lion's den. And as for the land he tried to steal from me, it's mine. Legally, permanently, stamped, certified, and signed off by the county. The neighborhood's reckoning. I step outside a few days later, stretching in the early morning sun. My pitbulls lounge lazily on the porch, tails thumping against the wood. For the first time in weeks, my land feels safe again. Then, I see something surprising. A small group of neighbors walking up my driveway. The same people who looked away when Greg started his harassment. The same people who let it happen. They shuffle awkwardly, avoiding my gaze. Finally, an older man clears his throat. We owe you an apology. Across my arms. For what? A woman wrings her hands. For not standing up sooner. She exhales, guilt flashing across her face. We saw what Greg was doing. We knew he was wrong, but we were scared. Scared of retaliation. Scared of losing our homes. Another man steps forward. But you fought back. You took him down. He glances at my land, then back at me. We should have had your back from the start. I let their words hang in the air. Then I sigh. Fear makes people do stupid things. Silence. Then the older man, Henry, I think his name is, nods. Well, we're done being scared. There's a shift in the air. A silent promise. This neighborhood won't let another Greg happen again. And that's justice too. Final moments. That evening, as the sun sets over my land, I sit on my porch, watching the last slivers of orange fade into twilight. Linda from the county office called earlier. Greg's looking at a long sentence. The HOA? Dismantled. My land? Unchallenged. And my pitbulls? Still the best security system money can't buy. I take a deep breath, letting the night air fill my lungs. Peace. Hard-fought. Earned. Mine. And as the first stars blink into the sky, I smile. Because this land has always belonged to me. And now, it always will.